Picked the wrong week to quit sniffing glue.
Somebody help me! I'm possessed!
Hello everybody, how you doing? Welcome back. It's week 2 on the Kraken build, and we're finally starting the interior. It's Tuesday. I did not get a thing done on this yesterday as I was finishing up finally the Sprueverse challenge. I finished that up this afternoon, so I was able to move all of that off the table and start work on the interior of the Kraken. Well, continue work I had started already with some bits like painting up the chair and things like that. But now we're starting into the serious work. And back on the Kraken, and I wanted to thank y'all for the kind comments of last week's video. I do read all of them. I comment on most of them, but I wanted to thank the gentleman who reminded me of William Shallard's participation. Yes, we have another Trek actor in the fact that William Shallard played the doctor who was basically taking advantage of Jack to run up some medical bills and give him a bunch of useless tests. And he, of course, played Nils Barris, The Trouble with Tribbles, but we also have a fourth one. It reminded me of a fourth connection. Because I was going to make a comment about the doctor's office and the waiting room where Martin Short is having where he discovers that he's hearing voices, thinks he's possessed, and in the room with him are Joe Flaherty and Andrea Martin, who, of course, he worked with on SCTV. But Andrea Martin also did a couple episodes of Deep Space Nine. I believe she took over the role of Moogie from the original actress. And so that makes a fourth Star Trek connection. So there you go. Also, took the opportunity over the weekend to go back over Randy Cooper's videos, his build. Randy Cooper is a model maker. He's a machine. He's a madman. He worked in the business for years, and as such, knows all the ins and outs, knows the tricks of the trade, knows of what he speaks. And he pointed out a few things that we will get to when it comes time to do the arms on the exterior arms on the pod. But he pointed out one obvious thing that I was ashamed to admit it hadn't occurred to me until he pointed it out. And that is the fact that the front arms have those two big manifolds on either side with big hoses that run to the arms on the front. And there's a big show of them, you know, those big old hoses. Well, there's another set of arms on the back, and there is no manifold for those, and no set of hoses. And those arms are just as big and important as the arms on the front. They are exactly the same hands and such. So how come there are no manifolds and hoses for the back arms? Well, I'll be adding those, something similar to what Randy did on his. And Randy also went nuts on the pistons for the arms, making sure that all the arms had what I call 3PO pistons. 3PO's elbow works with that piston. And those arms should have those. But, you can say that, well, maybe the elbow is internally geared, and no. But if you're going to have hydraulics, that means you're having pistons. So I don't think I'm going to be going as, elaborate as Randy did on his. But I might do something. But that's another week down the road, because this week we're not doing the arms. This week we're doing the interior. Now, the first thing I did with this interior was I made some masks to cover the circular dials and the rectangular screens, and then I gave everything a good light coat, blocking coat of black, and we're gonna let that dry, and then we're gonna paint some grays and some silvers over top of that. then we'll get the Molotovs in to do some chrome highlights here and there. And we've also got our upper panels. Now these I'm actually going to put into the inside of the top hull. It's going to be easier to do that than it is to try to stack them on top. They're actually going to go something like that. I think this is the one for the wrong side. This one goes here. But they actually go up in there. So we're going to see if it needs any sort of lighting. And then we're going to, I think there's one bulb that needs to light up these two dials. So we'll run a little SM LED inside there and then mount that to the top. And then we'll paint in some of these details. And there's some smaller doodads that need to be glued into the top of the hull. We'll take care of those from the inside. And then we will progress to the main tub that has all of the fascinating stuff. Good morning, everybody. It is Wednesday, and work is continuing on the interior of the Kraken, and the long journey of lighting this interior has begun. We are, let's see if I can get this to work. There we go. Starting on the stick here, I've got one of my color changing LEDs in here. And the nice thing about the design of this is you don't really have to work too hard to hide your wiring. You can just pretend it's part of the interior. So I've got a wire coming out of the back that I'm just going to wrap around. I'm going to have to solder some additional length on it, but I can wrap that around the yoke there down the post and then run it out the bottom and make it die into one of the walls. But that's the first one down. Now we've got good old tuck to go in there. I'm going to have to sand those yokes. I printed a set without the handles on it so that I could get them to fit in his hands like that. So starting painting work on tuck in between all the other things, just to when I have a need to clear my mind from working with little fiddly wires, then that's when I will grab something and paint it. I've got black light blocking coats on everything, so we can start doing the top. We can start doing the top coats. Things like this, I've got a light blocking coat over the dials there. I can start putting some base colors over top of that. And I think that's what I want to do next. Also, we can start populating this back wall with the controls and the tanks that go on there. I need to check a couple references. There's a huge tank that goes right here that I need to double check the color on that. And there's a set of 2 tanks here that I'd like to check the color on before we go any further with that. Got the chair in. I took the Molotov and I did a quick chrome around the gray of the chair. I'm not wildly concerned about painting the cushions since Tuck will cover so much of it. The cushions color, I got to touch up on the arms here, but the head and the it's more important that I see the back of the head cushion than anything else, because when you open that top hatch, you'll be able to see that. It'll be right up in your face. So let me get some gray paint out and do some hand painting on those, and we can kind of work our way around it. This is another one of those details that goes right here and attaches to a bunch of hosing. So I want to start, like I said, populating that back wall with details. So I'm painting up a lot of the consoles right now, and I'm finding not a lot of joy, because it does appear that everything is either silver or gunmetal or a variation thereof, and that doesn't allow for a lot of dynamic coloring. It looks like a lot of that's achieved with the lighting of the consoles and some spill lighting, like there's some blue lights that shine up on the back wall. So the actual objects themselves don't have a lot of color to them. Like this big tank seems to be more of the same type of gunmetal. So I made it a little bit darker, and then hopefully the lights will shine up on it and give it a little bit of punch. But between that and these tanks being the same dark color, there's just not a lot of joy to be had there. I've got of course we've got the initial black coating on these, and then I've gone over them with, it looks like white, but it's not. It's a royal light gray. There'll be some white that I can paint on top of that. Of course, there'll be some chrome and some black that I'll paint on top of that. And then we've got masks covering where the lights are going to come out. Now, I know it's true that a lot of these gauges might not be internally lit, like these big swing gauges, but it's going to be more dynamic if there is a light behind it. So you can see, hopefully on the back, you can see the yellow masking. So we're going to let that dry. There's going to be some hand painting details to go in there. And then we could start doing like I did on the yoke and putting in some backlighting and some fiber optics. I'm still kind of bugged about what to do about those screens. I'm going to have to see if I've got anything that I can use that is printed on backlit film. I might have some decals here. Might have something from the Paragraphics archive of things, because Paul was excellent at making backlit decals, and I might have to see if I've got anything printed that way that I can use that will even look remotely like a chart or a graph. If I can pull up some old 2001 pod decals, I might have something in there that is looks like it could be a suitable screen. That's enough painting for now. My eyes are starting to go buggy. I have been working on the consoles using less metallics in here. I know Randy did his. When he did his, he made them all. He started with the chrome silver and then went from there. I'm opting to go with a lighter gray. That way I can still put chrome silver accents on them and have them have the accents show up. Now, without a light, so you can see the light shining through that for those big gauges. And I think what I'm going to end up doing is putting a black wash over those gauges so that the little hash marks will still show up. But yeah, it's kind of slow going, but it is going. And that'll end up going like that. And this last one I haven't taken the plastic off of, or taken the vinyl off of the there you go. Guess I could paint the sides, the tops and the bottoms black. I need a little bit more research for this to see the colors of these things. But these are the last little ones that go up on the inside of the lid. There we go. You can see the light shining through that. And just working on the bench, or the yoke version. So yeah, like I said, my eyes are going a little bit buggy, so it's time to stop for a while. Morning everybody, it's Thursday, gateway to the weekend. It's also the big reveal day for the 2025 Sprueverse Challenge. So I'm running around like a madman trying to get my entry finished up. It was mostly finished on Tuesday, but there's always room for a final touch here or there. So, but today, right now, at this moment, I am working on the control panels and getting the lighting situated. And I was going to be starting with putting in some more fiber optics like I did on here. I put fiber optics through there, and I realize now, boy, did I make a lot of work for myself that I didn't need to, because I found a much simpler and easier way to do what I wanted to do, and I'm kicking myself for not doing it earlier. I always really enjoy it when I am able to utilize something that I was given. And I've been blessed by quite a few lovely channel participants. I don't call you viewers, I call you participants, because everybody's got something to contribute. And I don't work in a vacuum, you know, because A, it's tough to breathe, and B, the noise is just, the cat doesn't like it, none of it. But I was sent a while ago a goodly number of these. And if you don't know what these are, it's you're easily forgiven, because, you know, who does? It's a specialized thing. What this is a sample pack. It's a sample pack from a company that makes lighting gels. Lighting gels for stage, lighting gels, mostly, I guess, for you know, for stage, community theater, high school plays, whatever. If you're using lighting, you're using gels on your lighting to color your light. And what this does is, this is a beautiful thing, because it can cut little tiny pieces of swatches out of it and use that for putting behind your consoles. Now, I have, that's basically what I've done this morning. You can see them here. Now, in the movie, this big bank of lights here are all green, and I was thinking, oh, I'm just going to run a bunch of fiber optics out of those holes, and then I'm going to bundle them to a green bulb. Well, it's so much easier to color the lights, the areas behind it, and then put one white strip of LEDs in there, and that'll take care of all of the lighting. And when you, let's see if I can bring this down and turn it and get it in camera. When you put this up to a light source, you get all of the myriad little holes lit up for you at once, and you don't have to put a ton of different colored LEDs in there. You color the holes and not the LEDs. So that's where we're at on this console, and I even put a frosted white behind these big gauges. I know the resin itself is frosted, but it doesn't hurt to do an extra little bit on there. So now that I've gotten a lot of that behind me, because I was really dreading putting all of those fiber optics and stressing about running a bunch of fiber optics through those holes and everything, I can do my final paint on the outside of this, knowing that the bits are going to be lit up from the back. I'm going to put up like a black wash over these gauges to make the hand and the indicators stand out a little bit more. And also I'm going to touch up some silver, put some of the Molotov on the high silver bits. But I can be doing that with all of these control panels. And another thing, see, I could do this big screen with a single bulb, with a single color there. And an unexpected benefit from all of these is that on each of these sheets, let's just pick lavender 52. That shows you the light properties and how much light it transmits and all that kind of stuff. But you know what? Also what that is? That is here's a different lavender. That is a perfect gauge. That is a perfect screen. I can use that, and I've cut one out just like this, and I'm going to put it behind the screen so that when the blue shines through, or when the light shines through it, it shows up with this graph on the screen, if all goes the way I'm hoping it will. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll be making up those screens, and it really solves the issue of, I was wondering how in the world was I ever going to be able to come up with some sort of detail that would allow me to come up with a graphic to go on those screens. I was thinking I might have to print something. I might have to make a big decal out of it. But I'm thinking that I can get enough out of these. Like I can cut that little screen out and pop it behind one of the holes there, and I get perfectly acceptable screenage there. So it's a twofer. It's not only do I get the color, but I get the graphic that goes behind it. So that's a yay, a happy, and a wow. I'll add a wow onto that. So all I've got to decide at this point is what color to make these other two screens. I'm going to go take a gander at some references and see what color those screens need to be, and I can cut out the appropriate bit of see, whether I put a green there or not, but an appropriate bit of gel, and then light those up. And I've got the back walls ready to go. Now I've painted those with white so that they'll reflect the light a bit. I'm thinking that I want to put the strip of LED tape on the floor. I don't think I want to put it on the back wall. I think that might be a little bit too bright, but I'll check either way and see which one works best. But then we'll be ready to pop those down into place just like that. And then we can get back to buttoning up this back wall. All of those tanks that I painted yesterday, I have on the back porch right now. I just put a satin coat over them. They're dark, but they're glossy. So I wanted them to be to have that nice gloss finish that's going to show up against the metallics and the dull of the back wall. Okay, we've made the determination. One strip is enough for this side. That's lighting everything up nicely. Now, what I've got to do is do some light blocking on it now, but some touching up of paint and all of that. But I think that's lighting up the colors just nicely. Let me go ahead and turn off the overhead. Now, the bottom here, which is really bright, that's going to be put up against. Well, I'll tell you what. Let me position this on the cockpit tub, and we'll see for sure. Okay, you can see how it's lit up in place, and I can see where there's a bunch of light leaking that needs to be addressed, and that's the fact that this is a clear piece, or a printed clear piece. So all of that bottom I'm going to have to just line with silver tape, and that'll get rid of this big light leak happening along the bottom, and this at the top I can control that one as well. And then we're just left in painting out some of the other details. But between this one and the light on the other side, I think we're in good shape, and I'm using less lighting than I was planning. That's great. Okay, so I've insulated everything with silver tape. We still got a little bit of spill on the bottom, and I think the only way to get around that issue is going to be, is going to be to paint just that front edge with some black. I can't, that's just the nature of it being printed in a clear place. I can't get tape in there from the inside, so I'm just going to have to paint that out with a little bit of black paint. Same thing on that side wall, and then that will take care of it. This same deal here, I'm going to have to paint that with some black paint, but it's going to get another bank of instruments above it, so that's going to block some of it. Okay, the second wall is in now. I'm really going here for light saturation, not for anything else. I'm going to be putting more diffusion behind those screens, so you're not going to see the bulbs as easily. And I am noticing that those red lights, come on, I am noticing that I'll just take this off for right now, that the red lights are visible from that angle, but they kind of disappear from this angle, so I may have to do some red painting back there with some, to me, a clear red over top of that area from the back to red those up a little bit more. But you're not meant to see as clearly in there as you can. I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna try to put something behind them to simulate the graphs and stuff, and hopefully that will break that up so to where you won't be seeing. It'll be something like that, and you won't be seeing the and I can always stick some fiberfill in there if I had to. If I don't stop, I may hurt myself patting myself on the back, But look at those. Those turned out quite nicely, I think. I mean, look, we have nice little, look like any kind of indicator screens, but not so shabby. Not so shabby. I like it. Again, thank you very much, kind sir, for sending me those samples. For my last trick of the evening, I put in the upper details here, plus I put in a light there, a light there, and a light there, which is going to go behind those upper panels. Good morning, everybody. It's Friday, the last work day of the week, the last work day on the Kraken for this week, and I wanted to piece everything together. Nothing is glued, you know the routine. I wanted to piece everything together because I felt a disturbance in the force. Now, this is something that I noticed in Randy Cooper's excellent video build of his kit. He had the similar problem, but he had also done something differently than I had done. The problem is Tuck, if you put him in the chair, this is what happens. Everything is lined up, but that's what happens. This does not sit down because the wheel hits him in the head. Now, obvious things to do, take the wheel off. We could do that, but then when you open it up, there's no wheel there, and that's no bueno. But Randy had put a waffle plate, diamond plate, sort of like this texture. He'd put one of those floors in his kit, and that had the effect of raising everything up, and that's why his didn't. He had to do some serious work on his tuck to get it to fit for that reason. So I had figured that maybe I would be running into something similar. So before I got any further down this road and started, doing anything resembling, putting things together for final construction, that I had better check that fit myself before I got any further. And I ran into the same problem. Tuck is sitting in his chair. I noticed that the yokes in his hands don't quite match the yokes on the stick, and I figured, well, that's easy enough to fix. That's just a little bit of putty. But I wanted to make sure that if I was sitting him in his chair, that the hatch was going to close. And also, more importantly, when you look straight in, you don't see him. You see his chin. His head is too high. So, knowing that that's going to be a problem, we are going to not stop doing our lighting, but we're going to certainly sidetrack from doing our lighting. What I want to do is take the top off, and I can show you if I can get this off. Let me see if I can get it. Yeah, it'll lift off around him. And I'll set this over here, and we'll see what the issue is. Now, I've got a lot of the consoles. This is how everything is fitting. And if you'll notice, he is sitting a little high. Now, there's a couple places we can take that height out. I started first by putting the. This is sitting as low into the sled as it can. Now, there are several places we can take out. We can shave off of his butt, and that's certainly going to happen because that won't be visible in the final build. We can also take some out of the bottom of the seat, and we can do that too. I can, let me grab my, where's my penciling device? I always clean this table and I forget where I put my penciling device. We can take just a grinder and just take a chunk out of this. I was toying with the idea of just cutting the whole bottom of the chair off and just sitting him on the framework. But you do see a little bit of the sides. So, maybe this much you see around him. And you see some in between his legs there. So we're going to save some of that. The chair, unfortunately, is already attached to the bottom of the floor. Or else I would just, just take some height out of that chair. And that's pretty much it. Those are our only fudge points. We don't have a problem with the headrest. It's only his head sticking up from it. If I take him out and set this back down, let's get it. Is it sitting back? Trying not to pinch wiring, but that's becoming impossible at this point. So we're sitting that back down. So we close that and everybody's good and happy. So the headrest isn't in the way. It's his head that's in the way. So we're going to start. He kind of sits like that. We're going to start by shaving off. I don't care if I get Sharpie on this because it's going to get ground out. Anyway, we're going to take off a line like that. Like that much. Take that much off of the bottom of him. And it's just going to be a question of setting up a sander and just setting him down on it, just grinding that much away. And hopefully that'll give me a good start on lowering him down into the seat. And then we're going to take that same grinder and we're going to grind out a whole bunch of this cushion. Maybe leave just that much of the cushion. Again, trying to do this in camera. Leave that much of the cushion and grind the rest out. It's going to get ugly, it's going to get messy, and if I have to reprint this chair, I will. If I have to reprint Tuck, I will. But I don't think I'm going to. I think we can make up the difference in that. And ultimately, we will be happier because he is sitting more where you can see his face through the front window. If I put him back in here with no cushion down, which will be hopefully the effect of having removed him and removed the butt and some cushion, he'll be sitting much lower. His head will still be hitting the headrest, but he'll be sitting much lower like this. I'll have to reposition these yokes, which I was kind of planning on that, so that's not a problem. But he will be sitting a whole lot lower in the yeah, see, now I can close it. Now we've got no problem. Let's raise that back up, and he's lower and happier, and let's see what he looks like through the front window. See, he's more actual where he should be. So that's mission 1 for today, and then we will, whatever time we have left getting that fitted, we will spend on getting the resuming work on the lighting. Okay, so I'm back from doing a little upholstery and a little body modification, a little liposuction of the grinding variety. I put a new drum on the Dremel, a little sanding drum. Took out a big chunk of the seat there. Hopefully you can tell how much of that I really flattened that out. We're going to pop that back into place, put that bad boy right back where she goes. Jack has had a procedure done. I tore him a new one. That's what had to happen. But the practical result of that is that he does sit so much lower in the chair. And we're going to try this out, see how we did. Anything that allows, oh, see, look at that. Perfect, perfect. And well, it's tough to tell because there's no light on, but he does look a little bit more, yes, he's a little bit more squared on to the front window. And that was the important thing. Well, the important thing was getting the hatch closed, but that was the second important thing. The second most important thing. So we're good with that, which means I can take this back off and finish up the work that I need to do in this piece. And also I can put, I can finish painting Tuck here. I don't know, I keep calling him Jack. Jack was the other guy. I can put Tuck in his chair, and I can adapt these yoke parts. Really, for as special as these really aren't, I could simply sculpt something that will match those 2 points. But to do that, if I could take these cabinets out of the way for right now, that will allow me to get access to those. So we're just kind of have to build them in backwards here. This is going to go here. I need my tweezers. It's going to have to touch the bottom part of that and that yoke. So it's going to have to go something like that. So yeah, these will work. Before I put those in though, I'm going to have Jack painted. Keep calling him Jack, sorry. I'm going to have Tuck painted. I'm going to have Tuck painted before I can adapt those yoke pieces. Alrighty, we are starting to put the upper consoles in. Now this is going to fit right up in here. And of course there are opportunities to run hosing between bits, but that's not something we can do really until it's in place and secured. It's got a bit of a bend to it, so it's going to have to be kind of clamped down. And I'm wondering if I've got a clamp that will fit into those small spaces to kind of hold that down. I might just have to sit there with my finger and do it. I'd rather not, but if it's got to be done that way, then that's what we've got to do. I have one light behind it. I can show you that. This was the light I put in last night, and that's going to light up. It's just a warm white that's going to light up all of these gauges. It does give me a little bit of spill light on the walls that we might have to take some of the silver tulip and do some seam filling or some caulking. We need to make sure that it does not interfere with this back wall, so we have to kind of push it towards the front. And I might even want to sand a bit of this line right here just to give us extra wiggle room. Just to make sure that it fits up into that corner just like it. Just like that. So we're not touching this back wall, which is good because this has to go in like that and not interfere with it. So that's good. So let me get well, you know, I think we can accomplish what we need to accomplish with regular old CA. I don't think we need to mix up the epoxy for that because there's not a lot of stress on it. Gotta clean up the nozzle of my CA. It's all clogged. Okay, we'll try that and see if it works. Yeah, there we go. A little bit of CA on the mating surfaces here. And then it's just a question of pushing it up in that corner. I'm wondering, should I put some kicker in there? Now we'll try it without it. See if we can get away with it. Okay, it's right up in that corner. Push and hold. I can do that on one hand. Well, this is about as thrilling as watching glue dry, so I'll turn the camera off and let you know how it went. So I've just done my first experiment in hosage wiring, and that is because I'm planning on doing a lot of this, and so I want to see how much of a deal it's going to be. It's tough to see that with the lighting in it the way it is, but let me get some of these wires out of the way, and you will see that what I've got is hose, just basically some wiring running from one fitting to another. And I wanted to see how much of a heartache that was going to end up being, so that when it comes to doing the most of it, like on the arms and on the so you can see that in there, when it comes to doing the arms and some of this pipe hosage that goes on back here, I want to have some experience with it. Plus, if I do it on the inside and I screw it up, it's not going to be as noticeable. So this is my test case for it. Not so bad. Not so bad. I like the multicolored cabling. And that's just some of this silicone flexible wiring that I've got. This electrical wire from this box right here. But it's got a nice, it's really, really flexible. It's got a nice bendiness to it. I've also got some wire left over from the Enterprise D build, from that big wiring loom, that I can also put in here for some multicolored strands and whatnot. That's all wiring that's not going to do anything. It doesn't actually run to a light. It's just there for show. And I wanted to get something that was colorful enough that it didn't need to be painted once it's in place. So having done that, I think we're happy. I've got the cushion painted here. So what I want to do now is go over to this side and glue the, sorry, I've been using this tape dispenser as a way to hold this thing up. I want to go and put this one in, which is this piece right here. Get that put in, and the light has already been run to it. Let me see if I can put that on a battery and show it to you. There you go. You can see those gauges lit up. There you go. So we're going to run our power to them. Our power's run. We're going to put some epoxy, or get your terminology straight. It's been a long week. We're going to put our CA on that and get that glued in, and then we can turn our turn our glance to painting on tuck, and that should be nice and relaxing. I don't know whether you saw a clear version of the center front dome light, but I'll go ahead and put a battery to that so that you can see it while we're in this optimal angle here. There you go. You can see the light right in there. I know there's space for like 5 lights there, but that would have just made it too distracting, I think. These were like little aimable track lighting things, but this was the one that did the majority of the work. So that's the one I lit up. I need to repaint this. I had originally thought of using a clear piece for that. Turns out that I didn't need it. So we can paint that, the gunmetal that everything else is inside. But let's get this piece in now. Is it going to need to be... No, that fits in there really nicely as it is. I'm just going to do a little bit of sanding to rough up the clear printed piece here and make sure the glue sticks to it really nicely. But it doesn't need to have been held in place. It's not warping like the other one is. I'm just gonna, like I said, rough up the back side. There we go. A little bit of CA on this and put it in place. Yeah, that'll look good. I've put some detail on this on these fire extinguishers. They're not fire extinguishers. I don't know what they are. I mean, they physically are fire extinguishers, but I don't know what role they were meant to play in the Kraken. Now, if they were actual fire extinguishers, by regulation, they would be red. So maybe they are halon extinguishers or some other exotic gas extinguisher, or they could be juice bottles for all I know. But it's obviously you didn't want in your movie, you might not want a splash of red up there. I'm not second guessing the art director, but you might not want a distracting bit of red up next to where your actor's face might be. I'm just painting in some detail here that will never be seen, so it's fairly safe to paint in. And it's possible that they did a lighting test on it or something, and somebody said, oh, I don't like that, it's too distracting, so they just repainted him a dark color. I noticed that all of the extinguishers in this interior, none of them are the regulation red color. So it's possible that once they made that decision, they had to carry it out through the rest of them just to be consistent. Or I could be talking out of my backside, which is an equally plausible solution. But those are both, well, no, I haven't glued it yet. That's the thing I've got to do, is I've got to glue the thing. Now that it's painted, I can glue it in place, and then I can put this in place, and then I can kind of move this whole thing off the table and concentrate on tucking and pointing and tuck painting today. Okay, so I'm out here in the living room on the big screen checking references. Now mostly I was checking for Tuck to see how the like there's a patch on his right shoulder or right chest. His name badge is on his left chest. There's a flag on his left arm, embroidered flag. I'm going to see if I can try to find a decal of that, because it's noticeable enough, but it's tough to paint. So if I have a decal of a flag, might not be the right size, but it'll do. But you can see the blue spill light that we've got going on behind him. I noticed this thing here. Seems to be a panel on that big silver suitcase looking side, and that panel is not on the part, so we might have to make something for that, either a piece of photo etch paneling or make up just something out of cardstock. Checking the color of the buttons and switches on that are right above him on the hatch. And also those two fire extinguishers that, again, are not red, just to check what color they probably should be. Here we can see those lights above the front window that I was talking about. The center one is red, and then the other two, or the other four, are white. I'm not putting anything in those other four, and now I'm kind of second guessing myself. But one thing I noticed just overall is that it's a lot more cramped than Jack seems to be sitting a lot lower. Keep calling him Jack. Tuck, Lou. Remember, Tuck. Tuck is sitting a lot lower inside, and the walls are a lot closer to him. That just seems to be quite more spacious in the model. But looking at where the gauges are, I unfortunately made all those gauges white, even though they're black faces. I lit them up as white, so guess I screwed that part up. I'm looking at the big breaker switches here. I've painted some of them red. It looks like that bottom one needs to be yellow. Just looking at all the details you notice when you are finally taking time to do your research. So I've just been tucking around. Look at him, isn't he a nice little mother tucker? Get him up into the light where you can see him. There you go. Now, I won't say that he is into the Kirkian side of the spectrum, but I will say that he and Kirk and Han Solo to an extent, and Malcolm Reynolds, they all have that. They all come from the same type of archetype character. Although Tuck has got more than a little Maverick in him, Top Gun obviously, and more little Han Solo in there, little devil may care. hotshot pilot type of thing than the Kirk Swagger, but they all come from that same side of the street, if you'll pardon the expression. So we were trying to get a little bit of the smirk. I like the way the smirk is designed into it. Quaid has such wonderful dimples that the fact that they're already printed in there does make them easier to print to paint. He's got a roundish yellow insignia on his right chest, but so much of that is covered with the seatbelt strap that I don't think more than just painting a little bit of yellow around that is all I need to do. And then I'm going to go in, and his nameplate, the black with the gold eagle and his rank and name, is kind of under that other strap as well. And he's got what looks to be like a radio pack or something up on his left chest, and then of course the headset. But the hard part is going to be trying to scout out that flag, and I'll have to see if I can find it. If I don't have one, I might just do a little type of indicator of a flag there. But really, see, this is kind of where that round yellow patch is. So I'm just going to indicate some of it behind where the buckle hits that. And then I can touch that up around it with the green to go back around. And the, let's see, the NATO black is what I used on the straps so that they would be a different color of yellow or of black from the gloss of the radio pack there. Yeah. Now I've got to touch this silver back again because I have accidentally run over it. The thing about painting in my studio in the summer is I have to keep the ceiling fan going, and when I run the ceiling fan, my paints dry on my palette, particularly these Vallejos. They dry up too quickly. Now I know I could learn to use a wet palette, but I'd rather just complain about it. Or put less paint out at a time. Yeah, there, I've painted the buckle back in around that yellow patch. And now I'm going to spend 20 minutes or so going through my stash of old decals to see if I can find a U.S. flag. There are days when being a hoarder has its benefits, but only if you can remember where you've hoarded a particular thing. And now I have this decal that I had from an old Icarus kit, an old Crow's Nest Icarus kit. It may be just a little too big, but it is big enough to go on his arm right. It only has to go right there. So yeah, it's a little big, but I think it'll do. Now, as I remember correctly, that does not have a white backing on it. So if I were to put that in on his green uniform, it would turn green where the whites are supposed to be. So what I'm going to do is take 2 seconds, and I'm going to paint a white shape behind where that decal is going to go. And then I'm going to put the decal down on it after the paint is dried. And then I am going to touch the paint back up with the green. I'm going to overpaint the area where the flag is going to go, just by a little bit, overpainting the area. And then I can, once the decal is down, I can retouch the greens around it. Okay, so I think this is where we're going to leave Jack for today. I got quite a bit of work done on him. I think he's almost ready to go. I did want to, maybe before we finish up, I do want to try this out. It's called Green Tone. I had been, I won't say complaining, I had been gently musing over the fact that I couldn't find a good green wash. And a friend of mine, good friend Scott, one of my modeling group buddies, he found that for me, and he brought it to the last meeting, and I said, you paid attention, thank you. And he said, no, I heard that you were looking for it, and I thought I would give this to you to see if you could try it. So what we're going to do is just brush that on, and it's going to settle down into the creases. I like that. Now I'll tell you that his fatigues are your typical army fatigues. They are a bit of khaki green, or not khaki green, but olive drab. And this green wash has a bit of a bluish green tint to it. So it's dragging the color into a blue green, a cooler green, where it was a warm green before. Not to be confused with Lauren green. I like that. I think that'll work out fine. I'm going to be gentle up here where I have carefully painted the bits, but I don't want to get on the white t-shirt. Oh, I like how that settles in the seam there where his zipper is. Keep it away from the yellow patch. It's filling in nicely around the seatbelt straps, or the harness straps. I could even paint it over top of the straps. It's not going to take anything away from the NATO black color of those straps. Just want to keep it off of the buckles. That's going to work great. Thank you. Thank you very much again, Scott. I will use this judiciously. I don't think we're going to get the decal on today, though. We're coming up on the end of Friday afternoon. And the more I look at it, the more I don't think that next week, or that the arms are going to take all of next week to do. So I think we'll finish up the interior and be able to get I think we'll still be able to get the whole thing done by the end of next week. But I was hoping to get the interior done this week, and I think I was overly optimistic with that possibility. Yeah, this is working out very nicely. Okay, we're going to let that sit. I think I'm going to end up spraying a flat over top of it, though, because I don't know if this gloss doesn't dry. It's going on awfully wet, but then most washes do. But if it doesn't dry flat, I may have to put a flat spray over it, because he certainly isn't wearing a glossy jumpsuit, flight suit. But I do like the way that is settling in the wrinkles. Okay, and here is Tuck in the cockpit. Now, I won't quite level the same complaint I had about the TIE Fighter model as I did with this, because if you'll remember that far back, I was opining that the TIE Fighter model, the interior was way too big for the character because he could not touch all of the walls. Here, I believe, even though I still think the chair and jack is a little small for the rest of the setting, or maybe the consoles aren't quite as big as they could be, one way or t'other, he can reach over and touch any button. So it's not quite as bad, but here he is in the place. I've got obviously a lot of work to do to make the yoke fit, but let's see if we can light up everything and give you a show. Okay, here is, I've got the overhead lights off. Well, let's turn that one off, but I've got the lights on this side panel, the lights up front, the lights on this side panel, all connected just right to here for right now. Nothing, I don't have the outside lights obviously, and I don't have the top on. But you can see where we still have some light blocking to do here. I want to put a wash over these gauges here, since I found out those should be black. But, oh come on, that was me. Sorry, that was me on the stupid plug. I chose the one transformer that's got the short in it, sorry. But there you go. Okay, so I finally stuck a resistor on this light that went up in the yoke, and now I've got a regular battery on it, and yeah, the camera's blowing it out a little, but it is shifting through the colors. It does look like individual buttons in real life. You're getting a bit of JJ lens flare here. There you go. And that, good people, is the week that was. Got a lot done on the interior. Once I discovered the way to do the lighting on the consoles, that went a lot quicker than I was dreading, quite frankly. Was not looking forward to cutting a bunch of fiber optics. So glad to have been able to use those gels instead. Excuse me. So because of that, we actually got into getting the tuck figure figured out, and getting him fitting into the seat. That was an important bit of work. So yeah, all in all, I say on balance a very good week, good week's work. So next week we will be continuing the interior. Should be able to close it up fairly quickly, and then we'll start on the arms. And what we'll do is we'll put the back wall in, put the hosage and pipage inside as best we can, close it up, and then we'll do the arms and the final hosing on the outside. So I think that's the steps we're going to take. So until next week, when we'll be right back at it, y'all be good to each other, be smart, be safe, be brave, be good to yourself, and be back next week.